Now, back when I first started this channel, one of the things, like, when people would talk to me, they'd be like, oh, what's your channel about? And I'd say, well, it's about, you know, all the things that I'm interested in, like Doctor Who, Marvel, DC, Star Wars. Nowadays, though, obviously it's predominantly Doctor Who for those of you who know, but when it comes to Star Wars, I can't actually remember the last time that I made a video about it. And the thing is, apart from this one, obviously, I don't think I have any interest in the franchise now. And this is a video explaining why, that I currently have a pretty big problem with Star Wars as a franchise. Now, to put this into context, like, I've grown up with Star Wars. Like, I love the original trilogy. I think they are really, really great movies. I know that people have issues with them and they say that, oh, it's, you know, stealing elements from stuff like Flash Gordon and Dune and all these sort of things. But for what they are great, and they are ahead of their time, particularly with stuff like the model work and things like that. I just think they look amazing. The plots I really enjoy, even though they are fairly simplistic. I enjoy the cast, I enjoy the characters. It's great. I was obviously of the age that I was a kid when the prequels came out. I am willing to say that they are not the masterpieces that 9-year-old me thought they were, but they do have their merits as well. I think Phantom Menace, apart from the Darth Maul fight, is a bit shit. Attack of the Clones is a bit shit. Revenge of the Sith, best of the three, still a bit shit. But either way, they're enjoyable still. Like, I can go back to them and I can find enjoyment in there, whether that is based on the actual quality of the films themselves or whether that is because of the nostalgia, because I vividly remember, like, the hype before Revenge of the Sith came out. Like, it was so fun at the time. And then obviously getting older, you know, I thought that was it. I thought that was the story that we got, you know, that was everything. Like, you see the journey of Anakin, where he starts off as a kid, this weird annoying kid for some reason, then he becomes a Jedi, and then he turns to the dark side, and then obviously you've got the original trilogy and you're focusing on, you know, Luke and Vader and his redemption and things like that, and you think, okay, cool, they've wrapped everything up. And then Disney buys Star Wars. Now, when The Force Awakens came out, I think my second or first ever video that I did on this channel was me defending The Force Awakens, because I was like, yeah, it has its problems. I think that some of the criticism it's getting are fair, but I also think at the same time, like, just hang on, let's just see how this trilogy goes. Fuck me. Was I wrong? The new Disney trilogy of Star Wars films as an entire package, I think is atrocious. And I think the idea of that trilogy is all over the place. Like, you go from one film to a film that doesn't feel like it's a sequel to the previous one, and then you've got a film after that which feels like a sequel to the first one but has no connection to the middle one, and it doesn't feel like there was a plan. It just feels like, yeah, let's do this. Okay, so this is what people didn't like about that one. Okay, so in the next one we won't do this, 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 and this. Then they brought it out and people were like, okay, with this next one, they didn't like that, and that. So for the next one, just do this, 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 and this. And they did, and you ended up with this disjointed fuckfest of shit of a trilogy that, yeah, okay, has its moments. Yep, looks great. Yep, the cast is great, but it's hollow. And I mean, the new trilogy is kind of the main bulk of, or at least it should be the main bulk of the Star Wars stuff, but it kind of represents the problem that I've been having with Star Wars lately, that they're just gonna throw shit at the screen, and because people are invested in the franchise, because people recognize Star Wars, they recognize stuff like C-3PO and R2, they recognize Darth Vader, they recognize Yoda and Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon and all these different things, because they are ingrained in popular culture. They think they can just throw this at you and you'll lap it up and think, yeah, this is great, when in reality, they're just throwing shit at a screen. It just happens to be in the shape of things that you liked as a kid. I think with the amount of stuff that they've brought out and are continuing to bring out, and I think the Obi-Wan trailer was the reason for me making this video, because they're just doing way too much and they are stretching the material out as far as they can. They are milking this cow as much as they possibly can, to the point where the franchise as a whole is getting less and less enjoyable, because the majority of the Star Wars products out there, in my opinion, I know this isn't everybody's opinion, but the majority of the products that are out there now that are Star Wars related in some way, shape or form, whether it's films, these TV shows, whatever it might be, the majority of it's shit. And we're getting movies and series that aren't necessary. Like, at what point do you go, actually, this is enough? We don't need to, you know, do a spin-off here, do a spin-off there, fill in the gaps here. One of the best things for me as a kid, the end of Revenge of the Sith was then going straight into A New Hope, because it's like, oh my god, what happened in that gap? And I think when you think about it yourself, and again, this is just me personally, I know that there's loads of like expanded lore stuff and books and games and everything, but great thing for me was like, I can imagine what it would have been like, and I can make my own head canon, and you know, it never gets confirmed. It's just like, yeah, that would have been cool and that would have been cool. Whereas now they are literally penning in the gap everywhere, to the point where what they end up giving you isn't half as good as the stuff that you imagined. Like the Han Solo film, fuck me, that was awful. Why are you giving Han Solo an origin for his fucking name? We didn't need that. Rogue One seemingly is a popular film, right? I've seen it a couple of times and it's fine. It's, as a film, as a Star Wars film, it's okay. I don't think it's this masterpiece and one of the best Star Wars films ever. I think all the characters are totally unlikable, they're not relatable, they don't seem to have any personality, they're not really original. I'm just watching people in a Star Wars setting. The only truly great thing about Rogue One was the Vader scene in the hallway. That's it. Again, just my opinion. But the reason for Rogue One being made is because it's the first paragraph of the title crawl from A New Hope. They made a fucking movie from like what, 2 sentences? Then you get stuff like The Mandalorian. I started watching that. I really just couldn't get into it. I thought it was fucking boring. Then you get stuff like The Book of Boba Fett. Do we all agree that in Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett died in one of the dumbest fucking ways possible? Yep. Do I want him still dead though? Yep. You don't need to bring him back. What was the point? And then with this Obi-Wan series, like, I love Obi-Wan. He was always my favourite character out of like the good guys, because obviously like Vader's awesome. But he was always my favourite. Even Alec Guinness back in the day in A New Hope, I loved his character, and I loved Ewan McGregor's portrayal in the prequel series. Would I want an Obi-Wan series? Do you know what? I probably would, because I would love to explore that character, the mental toll and the damage that that dude must have gone through, and exploring his life on Tatooine and how far he's been broken and how he's got to be strong for Luke when he finally reveals everything to him in A New Hope. Like, I would love to see that. But let's be honest, they're not going to do that, and by the look of the trailer, it's going to be this action-packed thrill ride sequence after sequence with Inquisitors, and I know that Vader's meant to be in it, which goes against A New Hope and several things in that film. Why Obi-Wan and Anakin / Vader need to have a confrontation again just lessens what happens in A New Hope, and also lessens what happens in Revenge of the Sith. Like, just leave them apart for all that time, because then the impact from seeing them together again in A New Hope after all this time, like, that's awesome. Don't diminish that. And I think the more and more shit that they keep pumping out, I mean, listen, Obi-Wan might be great, all these other things, they might be great on an individual level, but altogether you are diminishing Star Wars as a franchise because you're diluting it constantly. Some things don't need to go on forever, and I understand that that is always going to be a market. There are people out there who will lap it up and will love it, and there are people out there who have got into Star Wars because of the new trilogy, or because of, you know, whatever series it might be, or what, you know, anything. It could be anything. And I know that I'm probably just moaning for the sake of moaning, but as someone who's a Star Wars fan, like, I am starting to, well, no, I'm not starting to, I have pretty much lost most of my interest in the entire saga now, because everything has to have a spin-off, everything has to be explained, every gap has to be filled, and it's boring. I know people moan about, you know, the superhero genre and how that's been oversaturated. It's the same argument with this. Just because Star Wars has got such a rich and vast universe that you can explore, sometimes leaving it to your imagination or your viewer's imagination is better than trying to pump out mediocrity and just boring garbage constantly. You know, it's better to go out on a high than for people to boo you off stage. And I feel like Star Wars is just getting to that point. But that's just me. In the comments below though, guys, let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you agree that Star Wars is becoming oversaturated and pointless and stupid? or are you loving it? Whatever it is, let me know. And like I say, this is just my personal opinion. Like, if you feel differently and, you know, you absolutely love everything coming out, awesome. I wish I did. I so fucking wish I did, but I don't. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe for more. Social media and Patreon links will be in the description, as always. So if you would follow me on any of those things, I'd absolutely love you forever. But until next time, guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye.